So I always like to start with growing up. I feel like, our past, we see some of those things that whether it's from growing up, whether it's from a different career, whatever the case may plays a huge role in our real estate business. So I always start in the beginning.
Yeah,
What was life like growing up?
that's a long question. That's a 32-year question. I'm born and raised in Columbus, so I've been here my whole life. My family, my parents are both from Columbus, so we have long lineage here. I grew up on the west side of Columbus, so the Galloway, like Cherry Creek area, if anybody
Okay.
knows that side of town, I'm sure most realtors do, because it used to be $50,000 for a house, and now they're almost 300. It's like, holy crap! I wish we had held on to that house, but so I grew up in the Galloway area. Eventually, we moved from Cherry Creek to Galloway, and then eventually, my senior year of high school, we moved to Hilliard. But I stuck with Southwestern City Schools. So I'm a graduate of Westland High School, class of 2008, and growing up, man, I mean, I have what I like to think are pretty normal parents. We're a working class family, so I'd say I grew up fairly middle class. My dad's a big union guy, and my mom is she worked for Hilliard City Schools for a while as a lunch lady. She ended up having to retire for health issues, but my dad's been with Hilliard City Schools for 20 plus years as a custodian, and so somebody who goes to work every day with a lunch pail and works his butt off. And
Yeah.
I think that really like the way I have an older sis, two older sisters, but the way I was raised is you work for everything you have. So, all the respect in the world to however anybody was raised. But in my world, I wanted a car when I was 15 years old, and my parents didn't have money to buy me a car. So I actually started mowing lawns when I was 13 in preparation for buying a car at 15. And so I think, obviously it helped shape me long term on when I want something, I know I have to work to get it.
Yeah.
And growing up, I had a job at 15. So I started at Subway. I was a sandwich maker. The day I turned 15 and a half, which was the Subway requirement, I started at Subway.
Yeah.
And at school, I had double study hall to end the day, so I could leave school early and I'd go work. So I worked pretty much 30 hours a week or so, starting at the age of 15 and a half. And and again, I think it just like the way I saw my parents work. They if they had to go to work every day, they didn't have the
Yeah.
option to call off because they didn't get paid. And so that has shaped me, I believe, years later. It's something that, my daughters are 2 years old and 8 months old. And so I haven't quite taught them that yet, but it is something that I plan to instill is that if you want something, you have to work for it. And it's what
Yeah.
I saw my parents doing. And um, it's what I still do to this day.
So you mentioned that you started with mowing. Was that just the neighbors, or I mean, because some people grow up and they have kind of like that entrepreneur mindset, and then there's people like me. I don't have that in my bone. I think now being in the business and the people I've been around, there's some of that there. But like I never had that mindset of like, I'm just gonna go and create my own business, right? And even back then, you may have not thought of it that way, but it wasn't like you went to a company and started mowing, right? It was,
Right.
I'm going to figure out a way that I need to go make some money to mow. So, was there any like deep thought into it, or was it just like, hey, I just need to make, 10 bucks, 20 bucks?
Look, at 13, you don't really have many useful life skills, right? I mean,
Yeah.
anybody can push a mower, and so for me, I actually used to let my neighbors' dogs out and they go on vacation for $20 and things
Yeah.
like that. So I have always, always, always had entrepreneurship ingrained in me, and I don't know where I got that from, to be honest. I mean, my dad isn't an entrepreneur, my mom isn't. My grandpa owned some Burger Kings, but they were in Florida, and I barely knew him. I think I met
Yeah.
him 3 or 4 times my whole life, and so maybe it skipped a generation or whatever, and it came to me. But I just looked at like, okay, what can I offer the world? And I think pushing a mower at the time was it. And I remember that there's like certain things in your mind that stick out for some weird reason, but I remember like I used to like collect Pokemon cards and I would bundle them together and like trade 10 energies for a Charizard. And as silly as it sounds, it's just like I was able to like negotiate that. And so I always feel like I had this underlying um, business feeling. And I know we're going to get to like, a little bit later on in life and stuff, but there were glimpses there that I don't think I didn't know until I was a little bit older, but I
Yeah.
did have like these signs that I was an entrepreneur. And, we're all raised to grow up and go to college and get an 8 to 5 and stay at the company for 30 years. And you'll be rewarded with a pension when you're 65 years old. And I think that that's what I almost tried to stifle my entrepreneurship, because the way that I was raised was my dad, he spent the same company for the majority of his career. And I think it was just like that's what I felt like I had to do was
Mhm.
just, hey, I know I kind of want to be an entrepreneur, but it's not about letting my parents down. It's just more so I was raised to, hey, you got to get a good education. You've got to get a good job after college, because you don't want to be living, paycheck to paycheck or commission to commission in this case.
Yeah.
And so I think I liked entrepreneurship, but I was almost afraid to act on it because it didn't fit, my parents' beliefs. Not that they were like real strict parents or anything.
Right, right.
It's not what they did.
Yeah.
They live a what I would consider a normal life, and real estate is abnormal to most people.
Yeah, and